Hey guys, it's Terence again from Neptune Systems, and I'm here with another episode of Let's Talk Reef, a special episode this week because we're doing something really new. And I hope it's fun, and I hope everybody enjoys it, and we can keep doing it on and on. If we have some technical difficulties, please bear with us because we are kind of blazing the trail here on this particular type of technology. We're trying to do live call-ins, and we have the technology to do it through our IP phones and Skype and my software and all of that. We are able to do all of that stuff. So please bear with us as we're trying to figure it out. And we'll have Paul in here in a little bit. But what I want to tell you right off the bat is, again, welcome to Let's Talk Reef. It's every other week with Neptune Systems, with myself, Terence, and Paul usually is on as well with us. We're talking about everything about marine aquariums and certainly everything about being a control freak. So one of the things first is if you want to know when this is coming on and you forget all the time, best thing to do is subscribe to the channel on YouTube or to like us on Facebook and tell us to come up first, and you'll definitely get that. I see we got a ton of people in here from Colorado. We've got people from all over tuning in. I love it. I love what this show has grown into. Please share it with your friends. Let them know about it. And call into this number down below if you want to ask Paul and I a question and actually get on the air, okay? How cool is that? We just don't have to read your questions. You can come on the air, ask us a question, and hopefully we have the answer and don't have to dump you, ahead of time. But Paul is going to be in the background actually screening calls right now. So some of you guys make it fun, right? Jake Speed here says, first-time caller, long-time listener. Yeah, I don't know who's going to be the first caller that's going to come on. I know for a fact that I am going to give away some stuff to those people who do come on and get chosen to come live on the air. So don't be shy. Give it a go and have a question. It can be about fish. It can be about my aquarium. It can be about Apex gear or how to do something. It could be Stump Paul, okay? So that might be a fun one to do also. So Paul is taking your calls. I'm seeing on a little screen here in the background, Paul is there. He's got his little microphone on, like a telephone operator that you would see taking your calls right now, like a telethon. But it's gonna be fun. We're gonna try this out and see how it works. So thanks for joining us for that. Again, share it right now. Go out and share it with people and have them call in. Let's see who else we have here. So John Henriksen here says that James Corden is on the call. So I don't know. I think he's referring to Paul as Mr. Corden, I guess, who does the karaoke car or karaoke taxi or something. But we have people from Toronto. Lots of stuff coming in. Love to see all of the comments and questions already. That's what makes live streaming fun. That's what makes it better than watching it on the rewind. So make sure that you subscribe and that you like our page so you can see them when they're coming on. We got somebody from Kelowna. I got Stabila from Kelowna, BC, Canada. Yes. And Mark Levinson. No, Mark, we're not going to take your call, man. No way. You're just like the rude reefer. No, I'm just kidding. Mark is actually one of our latest admin moderators, if you will, at the Facebook group. We have a users group out there if you haven't seen it. And Mark is in there now helping others crack the whip to make sure that we keep it civil out there in the group. And then there's other people like David Fernandez who's asking, what new stuff you guys working on? I don't know if we'll ever be talking about that on a live stream. But you guys can see the call number down below, 408-275-2205. Once you hear my voice on the on the call, you'll hear like a recording with my voice on it. Press the star button, and then you will be put on hold, and somebody will pick up your call and ask you a couple of questions, and then put you in the queue to come on the program. So that'll be fun. So please, somebody call in. Like I said, I will have some prizes going out, maybe some swag, like one of these cool shirts. Well, not this shirt, because this is kind of a Neptune shirt, but it's not. It's orange and gray without the logo. But we will have a few things for you. Let's get some good questions in there. Mark Levinson is saying, words matter. Hashtag words matter. Yes. So we are all kind of locked up, I think, most of us who aren't, doing great works out there with healthcare and all of the civil servants and everything else that are trying to keep everything together with this big undertaking that we have, probably one of the biggest in my life, biggest disruptions, I should say, in my life since the '94 Northridge quake, which was a big disruption. I lived in the San Fernando Valley at the time, and it was a huge deal. This is the biggest disruption since then. 9/11 was a big deal, and certainly heartbreaking and everything, but ultimately it didn't disrupt everybody's life in a way that this one does. It's pretty horrible for a lot of people, but I know we're going to get through it. I know we're doing the right things by staying home, most of us, and we happen to be some of the lucky ones because we have these beautiful aquariums that we take care of. So we have a hobby that we can, I think in these times, actually do more with than we normally do because we get to be home more and work from home and be in front of it. So thank you for joining into the live stream for me in my home. This is where these are going to take place for some time. We don't know how much longer we will be in the shelter in place, but we're gonna cooperate. A bunch of us who can work from home will definitely be doing that. And it's tough on all the local fish stores out there. So if you have a local fish store in your area, whatever parameters they have of being open in some areas because they're an essential business, give them some of your business. Pick it up at the curb, have them deliver it, whether it's supplies for your aquarium or dry goods, or even if you need to lift your spirits and you've been looking to get a few Anthias. It's definitely going to be helpful to all of those local fish stores out there, and we need to support them. They need to be around. Likewise, the online guys make it easier sometimes for some of you, and especially if you don't want to get out. So support them as well. It's very important when we get through all of this to have as many people as we can that went in coming out the other side, in my opinion. Let's see here. We've got any questions coming on yet? Here's a good one. Common Sense asked, and we'll get to some other questions too. Paul is obviously, I see him in the background talking to people and getting questions. I see them lighting up on my board over here. I have a little spreadsheet with you guys coming in on it as he's screening. But I did get that call from that question from Common Sense. Said, hello, I just bought an FMM monitoring sensor, 1 inch, and I can hear a sound coming out of it when water passes through. Is that normal? That is absolutely normal. It is an electromechanical device. It has a paddle wheel inside there with a sensor that basically counts how many times that paddle wheel spins around, how many revolutions, and then the apex figures out what the flow rate is based on that. So it is common to hear some sound out of that particular sensor. So definitely good. Steve Simon says that the butterfly is picking at my green acro. I don't think so. I don't know. That one green acro back behind me looks like it's falling off. It was kind of a opportunist landing of another piece of coral, so I'm not really worried about that one. I don't really have a problem with any of the fish picking at those corals. I had a bunch of LPS corals in here, and those big Heniochus that you may see cruise by, those guys took care of that for me. Let's see here. Oh, here's an interesting one. Christopher Guidry asked, I just set up my system. Do you guys at Neptune offer a service to review our Fusion dashboard and offer advice on how to fine-tune our system? Not exactly. If you do get lucky enough to get one of us here on the show, maybe pop in on your tank as part of a feature that we might do, that might happen. Also, if you are having some other support issue, when you have support on the line, you can ask them to take a look at something and to see if you're doing something right or wrong. For the most part, don't be shy in submitting a ticket to our support team. As far as calling in, if it's something critical, probably fine to call in during business hours. But if you call in with just a, hey, can you take a look at this kind of thing, there's other people that probably have other critical issues that they're trying to deal with first, so you may not get the exact immediate attention that you would. But an email is certainly fine, and we can certainly help you out with that. Here's one I don't know that I can help with. Joe, Via Vicencio says, I hope I pronounced that right. I keep trying every time, Joe. How do I get away from the honeydew list, renovating the house, and spend more time on my reef tanks? You know what? I probably wouldn't be doing this job right now if I had the answer to that. I'd be one of the most sage person people on the planet for sure. So I don't know that I can help you with that one. Let's see. I got some other questions here. So we're still taking calls at this number. So please, you guys, call in. We have a couple of people already on the call-in list. We want to get more, and Paul is standing by in the background back there to take your call and get you on the list so we can take live calls. As soon as I get a few of them on there, then I'm going to pull Paul in, and he and I together are gonna kind of talk to each of you who are lined up and waiting to be on the line with us and ask us a question. So, Paul, I see one of Paul's messages. Keep those calls coming in, guys. Yeah, let's make this a thing. So don't be shy. If you have a question, call into the number, talk to Paul, tell him what your question's going to be, and we'll get you on the air. Let's see here. Will you release a model to work with the new Ecotech products? This is going to be a question we're going to get quite a bit. Of course, I've answered it a number of times. It'll be one that I'll continue to answer. The new Ecotech products themselves are only set up right now as they are, meaning the Versa dosing pump as well as the G5 Lite to work off of Bluetooth LE. That said, they do have the hardware inside to work off of Wi-Fi or 802.11, but it is not yet enabled for their software. But it, at least in our best of knowledge, it could conceivably work with our hardware if they were to allow it. So it really isn't something that we have to create new, in my opinion, as far as I know right now. And it's entirely in their camp as to whether or not they want our WXM to control these particular products, specifically the Lite, which it's already built in there. The Versa pump's a little bit different because there is no real standard that we have in place for that with with the control mechanism with the WXM. And the WXM controls using something other than Wi-Fi. It uses the Zigbee type connection, but that is also still built in, to the best of my knowledge. If it's not, we also have IOTA, which is our standard for control, which any company could utilize and implement into their products to make them controllable by the Apex. That would include any products from Ecotech or other lighting companies as well. I've got another question here from Jaden. Jan Pineda says, how about the 6-month reagent? I can tell you right now with what we've got going on, and we are closed in our office right now. There is no production or anything going on. We have a tiny bit of reagent left on the shelf that's packaged up, but nobody to really ship it out of our office. Everything we shipped out right before we closed down, and it's gone to most of the online stores, and I believe most of it's been sold through, but not all of it. I think Bulk Reef Supply and saltwateraquarium.com might still have a little bit left. But because of the shortage that we have with this COVID thing, we're going to be hard pressed to spin things up fast enough to be providing 3 at a time to everybody, right? So we're going to be doing 2-month kits for a while until we catch back up, and then we'll fire up the 6-month kits again. Let's see here. Trying to find another question for you. I tell you what. How about maybe you guys would like to? Maybe I can show you guys a little bit of what's going on in my tank. I know I had somebody ask me before about my tank stuff. Is that probably something you guys are interested in? I don't know. Give me a couple of comments here. Would you like to see a couple of the corals and fish in the tank? Because we can do that while Paul is still taking questions. He's got a few of them lined up here, and I can definitely do that. I can definitely show you around the tank, give you an idea of some of the corals and some of the things I've talked about before on the show while we're waiting for Paul to get in some more questions. So why don't I do that? Let's see here. I'm going to go to my other little camera, which is near the tank, and then I'm going to be on that microphone, so hopefully it's going to work. So let's try this. Let's see here. Well, let me go back to here. I want to do one thing more here. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, I'll light that up. That way you can still see where to call in, and I'll make it a little bit smaller here, so it's not so obtrusive. All right, so let me get off my headphones here. Let's make sure the audio, yeah, I got audio, good. So anyway, guys, couple of interesting topics here. This whole area here was planted about 16, 17 months ago, because it used to be, maybe 18 months ago, it used to be all LPS. Now it is mostly SPS with a couple of torches in here, because these Heniochus that were supposed to be reef safe, that I think I've talked about if you guys watch previous programs, they're not super reef safe. So that was a lesson learned. But I do have a bunch of really cool corals in here that I love. This is Red Dragon, which is grown quite nice. In the back over there is Dippin' Dots. I'm running, if you want to know how much flow I'm running in here, I've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 wave pumps going in here. Got up there, I've got granulosa and a dying torch that's just got too much flow up there. When I changed this over to SPS, he was already encrusted on, and so probably just used the skeleton to grow more SPS off of it. But there's a granulosa over there and another really beautiful F-flow in the corner. Some other things in the back there. This is pearlberry, which is a really nice acro. And I don't know what most of these are, right? As far as their, some of their goofy names, but I like them. This is one out of Australia that I got from Unique Corals. And there's Fox Flame from Jason Fox in the back. There's a frag that didn't make it because of the torch. There's a relatively new Oregon tort and a rainbow kind of millie. And then this is a Walt Disney that doesn't quite look like a Walt Disney. And yes, I have cyano. Permanent cyano on this half-dead Spainbow, which is coming back. Hopefully it's going to do well. I'm going to look at the questions over here. Let's see if we have any. Oh, it says too loud. Look at that. Yeah, well, what can I do about that? Maybe I can do something. I can get the gain down on that for you guys. There we go. Okay, so yeah, Paul's still trying to get calls from you guys. And this is a, you can see there a little bit better. That's my green slimer. It's a good, probably 27 inches across by 24 inches front to back. Behind it is a dying underneath it little red Ferrari, which is humongous. Lots of corals in my tank. I kind of let them drop when they fall and kind of do what they do. Even this digitata right here was just an accident frag that fell down there, and it just started to grow up from there. Urchins grow fast, by the way. I've got the long spine urchin in here because I have 4 of these Bangai cardinals, which I want to see babies actually live in my tank, and I know that they will put their babies into the spines of the long spine sea urchin there, and so that's definitely why I put it in there. But they grow fast. That thing I bought about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was about the size of my thumbnail, the little head on it, and now it's the size of like almost a racquetball. This is a really cool coral down here. This is actually an infected acro that happened in my tank between like a purple stag and the slime ball and acropora, and that's a whole nother story I can talk about how that happened in the tank. You can see I kind of just let some corals just drop. You can see a little more cyano down there too. Hey, it happens. Pona Bay bird's nest that's relatively new. A bunch more acros. This is a red planet that is guess what? Hitting the glass, and so the pieces are breaking off. Stuff just kind of happens. There's another, it's about 14, 16 inch wide. I think it's a little red Ferrari or something. And this fish, this is a marginalis. So he was about half that size when I got him. It was a beautiful fish. And let's see here. Let's see if there's a question. Why am I hearing music? That's bizarre. I don't know why I'm hearing music. Okay. You guys don't want to care either. Let's see. When you add branch rocks, what do you use to make sure the branches won't fall back out? Is it just cantilevered in there? Adam Moore. Great question. Yes. So when this tank started, it was one little island over here on this side. Okay. One little island right here. And then I just started adding more branches out and more branches out and more. And then on this side, these branches didn't exist until about a little over a year ago in the design. If you go out to my build thread, you'll see that. And yes, you cantilever them in underneath ledges in the rock, other pieces of branch after they've kind of grown in. Stuff grows around them and locks them in. I don't use any kind of glue or anything on them. You can see maybe underneath there how they're kind of wedged in there. And I don't touch a lot of stuff in my tank, so I don't reach in and mess with a lot of stuff, so I don't really worry about stuff moving too much. But yeah, you can see a couple more corals back there from the fighting Heniocus. Let's see, another question. Mark S. says he'd like to take those broken coral pieces off of me. Steve Simon asks, why do you think you have cyano? Well, this is an interesting thing. Part of it is seasonal with the sun coming in from my house over there. You can kind of see over that way. There's a big window over there, and that comes in and hits this tank. That's a part of it. I also started dosing a product, which I don't want to mention right now because I don't want to blame it on that product, to try something out, and I'm still in the midst of evaluating it. And I think that's just a nutrient level spike that helped do that. Let's see, another question. Any issues to the SPS when doing the water changes with corals out of the water? No, because my entire water system is remote under the house. So when I do a water system, the water level, a water change, it doesn't change in here at all because the sump is so deep down below. When I drop the water, nothing happens up here. I do have corals that grow out of the water, though. You can see they often do, and sometimes they'll stick out of the water a little bit and still be growing just fine for a while as they get splashed. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. We're still taking questions, though. If you guys have any questions, we'll come back to it. See if there's any more questions. Steve Simon said, is it vibrant? No, it's not vibrant. So you can keep trying to question to see what it is, but no. Do you get coral from Neptune Aquatics? Great question. Yes. I wonder if is that somebody from Neptune Aquatics trying to get a plug? I don't know, but yes. So for instance, this green slimer I got from Neptune Aquatics 2 years ago, and it was about 2 inches in a little V, a little fork. Okay, we're back. So yeah, so I got that one as a fork from him, but what's funny is the story goes, about every 3 or 4 months I cut these big stags and give him buckets of frags. And what I'm trying to do with this one is grow it over to the right. You see how it's like leaning like a bonsai? And everywhere where you see there's like a little, it looks like a little explosion or a firework of spikes coming off, that's where I've trimmed it recently. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's see about getting some of those questions. I see we've got at least 4 of them lined up there. So let me kick it back off of this, back to the main shot here. Get in here with you guys. All right, I'm back. Let's get my headphones on. It's certainly fun. Certainly fun having the studio here right next to the tank, where you can just show people what's going on. Let's see here. Pendy, I'll answer a couple more questions. If you guys, you really should call in, man. I could have had some really good prizes for you. It's too bad. Some of these questions I'm seeing coming up in text, you guys are just too shy. Pendy said, also would love to see what nutrition export you run on your system. So the nutrition export that I use on my system is basically 2 things. I use a Chaeto bed, a bed of macroalgae that I grow in a huge sump, and I think I just turned it up, so it should be driving it a little harder now. Let's hope. So I just turned it up. So anyway, so I use that, and then I also have a denitrator, a sulfur denitrator that I use to get rid of all the nitrates in the water. So I do that, both of them, phosphates and nitrates. The sulfur denitrator is a little bit of a complicated device. I don't recommend it for most people. The Kato in your sump is definitely something that I do recommend to most people to run a refugium and run macroalgae in a refugium. Again, these are personal opinions. I believe that running that is super beneficial to your system, both for pulling out nutrients, for having a place for microfauna to grow and to repopulate and to help feed your reef. And it's easy, it's kind of fun, and it works, especially if the ratio is good between how much you're keeping and how big your tank is. And in my particular case, I have about a square yard of it by about a foot thick. So I've never run Kono Savino says, what about an algae turf scrubber? An ATS is an algae turf scrubber. I have not myself used an algae turf scrubber, but I do know people that have done it successfully. It's kind of not my gig because it's kind of messy, right? You got to go in and take it out and scrape that stuff off and then put it back, and it's just really not my thing. With the Kato, I go down there and I pull 4 little balls of it out, throw it in a bucket, and throw it out in my yard and call it good. So Steve Simon's asking what my nitrate levels are. I'm a bad boy. I haven't tested nitrates probably in 6 to 8 months. Probably a good idea to do it soon, but that's the way it is. Let's see. A couple other questions here. Yeah, as far as products in production, we're not talking about kind of future products anymore. Trident was a lesson for us in that. It's one of those things where we wanted to keep people clued in to what was going on really early in the process, and had some promise dates, and things happened, and we didn't meet them, and we got kind of grilled for that, and so we didn't want to go through that ever again. So we've decided not to. So, but we do have things in the works. We have some really great things. Obviously, the COVID thing has slowed a few things down, and then a few other things, I don't know, maybe it's even sped them up because there's less distraction in some of the engineering circles with people being home. But I do know that we have some really great things planned for all of our control freaks. Hopefully, all of them that I know of in my head are 2020 things that we'll have out there. But it's hard to know, and now we can't really talk about them, like I said, ahead of time. So hopefully the mic is a little bit better. Question was how old my tank is. Overall, the tank started getting livestock in it about 3.5, 4 years ago. You can go see we do have a build thread out there on Reef to Reef. If you just search for Gilroy in Reef to Reef, you'll find my build thread. So hopefully the audio is working well now with you guys. And as soon as Paul finishes his last one going in, we have 4 people on hold. This will be the 5th on hold, and then I'll bring Paul in, and we'll start to get these questions, there's some good questions on here, too. Good. Sorry, I've got to take a half a second here to look to see what's coming up. Excellent. Excellent questions. Awesome. So, again, I want us to be doing this particular type of a show on a kind of regular basis. Maybe on every other one or every third show we'll do call-ins. And I really want you guys to participate. It's a fun way to get on the air and get your call answered. Maybe get a little bit of swag. I know Paul is the keeper of the swag. So he's out there. He's the one who sends the stuff out to everybody or makes sure it gets sent out to everybody. So definitely call in and try to have a question with him. And you guys that are on hold out there, if you're still hearing me, the other thing too is that once we do pull you on the air, do not watch the live stream. It is delayed, so you will. You will get yourself completely confused if you're watching the live stream and then trying to talk to us. It's just like on the radio. So they say turn your radio down, turn your radio down, and then people don't turn their radio down. Yeah. So all right. So Paul's putting one last one in here. Be the sixth people on hold, which is pretty good, and we'll get through these. We'll take these calls and see if you guys like this kind of program or not. Let's see here. Ken Brown is on from saltwateraquarium.com. I always appreciate having our big dealers online here with us. Thank you, Ken, for joining us. Absolutely. And as I said, Old Mark is here. Mark wants some wants some reagent kits. Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, what kind of prizes? Usually it's going to be swag, right? It's going to be T-shirts or hats or who knows? Maybe we'll throw an AFS to somebody on this show, or even better. I don't know. Paul, I'm going to let Paul decide on that because he's the one screening calls, right now. So we're just about ready to pick Paul. I see him. He's just about finished up on his call. You finished on your call? Give me a thumbs up if you're finished on your call there, Paul. Excellent. So I can see him on the little window back here. This whole, thing with social distancing and all of this, it really makes this challenging rather than having the, breaking through the fourth wall kind of thing that we usually do. All right, so let me see. Let me bring Paul in a second. Let's get this, and then let's get that, and then let's get that. Paul, can you hear me? Oh, can't hear Paul. You know why? Because Terence didn't do what he has to do, and now we're going to hear Paul. Can I hear Paul?
Hey, what's going on, Terence?
Okay, now I can hear Paul. Awesome. Oh, Paul.
Great.
Thank you so much, Paul, for setting this up. I want to give huge props to Paul. I asked, actually a week and a half ago, I said, hey, I want to do this cool thing, and I know there's some technology out there, and I want to try it out and whatnot, and it's going to cost us a little money, but I think it's going to be fun. And Paul's like, I think we have stuff that can do that already. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, our phone system.
Yeah. I'm kind of, it's funny because you kind of initially set the phone system up, and I don't know how
quickly forgot how it works.
Quickly forgot.
On purpose.
I think you set up even the old analog phone system, right? And then I came in later, right, and I made it much better, as I typically do.
Sure, Paul. But you left my voice on all the prompts, though.
Right. So, anyways, what we did here was we're trying something new. I got music on hold music now. We need to ask each of these guys how they felt about the music on hold.
Okay.
Most of them should have gotten the cool music on hold that you set up. I asked Terence today for it, and it was an immediate... he had an immediate response of what it would be.
It is a statement of Terence's personality for sure. It's
right, exactly.
It's like there's going to be a tune for everything.
Yeah. So that's going there. Just on a little side note, I've gotten really jealous of all these meetings I've been doing and watching all of the tanks. And I tried to set this up today, but the window isn't big enough. But I just want to let everyone know I do have an aquarium, and normally it's just over my shoulder, just like it is now. But, I have to enjoy my aquarium remotely right now.
I think that's one of those YouTubes that you can go out where you can watch somebody else's aquarium, Paul. I don't know, man.
No, it's my aquarium, my corals, my acropora, my trident.
Your Montipora, yes.
I miss it, and it's I didn't realize how much I enjoyed having a tank next to my desk so much until I got in here and started doing all this, but this work from home thing, but here and there.
Well, let's stick Brian on the call. Let's stick Brian on the call. Let's see what he's got to say.
Get Brian on the line.
Let's get Brian.
So this
Numero uno.
This is the next stage of will this work?
Yes. Hopefully you're not going to blast my ears with hold music.
I will do my best not to. But you never know.
Hey, I already prepped him and said, please bear with us, but I think it's going to work.
Okay. So let me see. Is this him? I think this is going to be him. Okay, yeah, this is Brian. So Brian, you're coming in. I know there's going to be a delay, and you're going to be very unexpected on this. So boom. Let's see if this worked.
All right, everybody.
It looked like it worked.
Do we have Brian?
All right, and we got Brian on the line. Brian, you there?
Hey, Terence. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Brian, man. So where are you calling from, Brian?
I just called from New York.
I would have never known.
Yeah. Gotcha. The reason why I was calling, just want to ask you about the green aquaphor in your tank and the other aquaphor, you guys call it. How do you start with those? Where do you start from? Like, how small were they when you first got them?
So I'm one of these people who I love to get the small frags and see them grow into something awesome. I think it's incredibly rewarding. I don't know if you remember or how old you are, if you've ever seen them, but when I was a kid, we had these rocks that you could buy and put them into water and then watch them grow, these colored rocks. And it always
Yes, remember
completely,
those, yeah.
it always completely amazed me that you'd get these little like chips of things and throw them into water, and then every day you'd look to see how much they grew, and then all of a sudden they started growing almost exponentially, and that's really how corals are for me. You know, I get a small little, a little frag and put it in, and then when it starts to take off, you're just so proud. And then when you clip it for somebody else, it's like a whole nother level of pride. What do you think, Paul?
I mean, for me, right, I was always really gun shy on doing Acropora and things like that until until I really got to Neptune Systems. I didn't have a tank for some period of time too. There were several years where I was tankless, as I came to Neptune Systems and all that. I started doing my first I call it Acropora, but Acropora, in 2016, and it's just really taken off, and the best thing, Brian, to kind of answer your question specifically, is the thing that you really need to have to be able to do those those SPS corals is stability, right, and consistency. And it's about it's not about dosing, bolus dosing. And bolus dosing is, well, this says it's going to take 30 minutes. It says it's going to take 30 milliliters every day, and then you pour 30 milliliters in the tank, right? What happens in that situation, the building blocks of the coral, the alkalinity, the calcium, and the magnesium, you're going to get this huge alk spike, right? And that's something that Neptune Systems can deliver that alkalinity or those supplements very over a long period of time. So we're not doing 30 milliliters over a minute. We're doing 30 milliliters over 24 hours. And there you can maintain a very good level and a very stable level, which then can encourage the SPS growth and things like that.
What is the time frame of like going from the small to what you have now? Like how long? How many years?
It really depends on the coral, right? So when it comes to Acropora, you have some Acropora like the green slimer behind my head there that looks like I've got like some sort of green dreads on or something. That particular coral is the fastest growing Acropora and probably the easiest to grow Acropora there is. It is a great beginner coral because it grows so fast and it's pretty tolerant to lots of things. Pests don't like it. It grows in a lot of different lighting conditions. It'll change its color a little bit depending on the lighting and where it grows. But that particular coral, I started with a 3 inches or 2.5 inches of coral about 2 years ago, and it's already been clipped twice, and it's about 24 by 27. But my tank has the ideal living conditions, and I'd love to. To say it's because I have a blue thumb, like my wife says, but really it is what Paul said. It's the consistency that does it.
And not to mention, the lighting, right? Lighting is very important for that stony coral growth, and there's all different opinions on how much lighting you need and all of that kind of thing, and it depends really on the coral. But basically, you need to have one of the nice LED fixtures, right, that can get at the top, 400 or 500 par, right? So that means
I'm
in the
running
middle of
radions
the tank,
in mine, so
yeah, you should be just fine and being able to start that stuff. Big thing you need to start checking right now are those building blocks, the alkalinity and the calcium levels, and maintaining stability. If you have a Neptune Systems, System Apex, right, we have all those things that are going to be able to help offer that between the Trident and the dose, to really be able to dial in those levels.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your call, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. We really appreciate it. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
You want to pick the next one, Paul? You go ahead and pick the next one, man.
Yeah. Well, we just talked. We got another dose question. Rashid, I like Rashid's question. You take a look at that?
Yeah, that's good.
Let me pull him in, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see how this works. Make sure it works again. Hey, Rashid, you there?
Hey, Paul. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Rashid.
Hey, I got Terence and me on the line. You are on Let's Talk Reef.
Oh, that's awesome, man. How's it going, Terence?
It's doing great.
Yeah,
so where are you calling in from, Rashid?
So I live in Astoria, New York. I actually just moved back to New York from Stamford, Connecticut.
Very cool. Tell me about your aquarium.
So a little bit of my aquarium. I used to have a 220-gallon mixed reef. I now have a 300-gallon mixed reef too. It's 8 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep, and 24 inches high. Running on all kinds of Apex gear here, 4
Awesome.
doses, the ADRs, the EV8, and I'm all about automation because I do a lot of traveling for work. And when I go on vacation, my wife and I are like leaving for close to a month. So
very cool. So what's
I
your
actually
question, Rashid?
had a little, yeah. So one of my questions is around 2 things: around feeding your tank and then doing maintenance, water change maintenance. I know back in the day you used to bring up some like cool, helpful tips, like even as simple as like, hey, let me get that, those storage units you get from Home Depot, the Milwaukee job site storage. I found that to be really helpful to put my, just my water change kits in there.
It's one of the first episodes. Yeah.
Around. Exactly, and I remember that, and I got it. I was like, because I still have it around. And one turned into 3, and my wife thinks I'm nuts because I used the other 2 for other things.
I love that thing.
Just some helpful hints. Like now, you already mentioned to me that you don't need to worry about your water level,
right?
Because you have a basement, have a huge sump. I do, because I do have a fish room, but I need to actually bring that water level down. So like what I do is I turn off a couple of my vortexes so air doesn't get in. But we're just some helpful things when you're doing water change, like a 10, 15, 20% water change. And what do you do when you're doing the feeding so that you don't get food to go down to your filter stocks? Because I already changed those things enough without, I control my DC pumps and all that stuff, so I don't have those issues. Just like some helpful tips.
Right. So and I'll let Paul extend on this after I answer this one. I'll take a second kind of question first on the feeding one. First and foremost, a little plug to our core product. When you do set up a feed mode in our core product, the water doesn't go all the way back to the sump. It actually, you can set it so that it just stops the water from going over the overflow. And so that's super handy for not getting the food in the overflow, but also not having all the water go back. But you can do similar things with non-Neptune return pumps as well. Obviously, you can turn them off. Some of the return pumps have 0 to 10 on them. You can do something somewhat similar to that. Most people just do the turn off thing. What do you think, Paul?
The great thing about a lot of your question there, Rashid, is a lot of this is baked into the tasks, right? Which I talk a lot about when we do the live stream. And you can run a task and automatically put that in. But essentially what you are looking for more than everything is to be utilizing more of the feed cycles. And feed cycles are essentially, there are 4 of them, A, B, C, and D, right? And what you currently have in your configuration or programming, you can make different feed modes, right? So feed mode A could be actually when you're feeding the tank. Feed mode D could be when you are, running a maintenance mode or something like that. Then you can set up the time that happens. Essentially, all you need to do to be able to add that in to the Apex, right? You go to the current configuration of that outlet, okay? You switch the control type over to advanced, okay? And you just write the statement. I know statement, Terence, come on now. The statement, if feed, right? So you reference the feed, if feed, and then you reference the feed cycle, A, B, C, or D. So if feed D, no space, then 0, 0, 0, then off, right? And that would then cause that outlet to turn off. If there are other things that you want on in that situation, you want to go to if on. Specifically, though, I do want to go to the Wayback Machine, and Terence and I kind of explained how to do virtual feeding cycles and things like that, so multiple things happen all at once in episode 2 of Let's Talk Reef. Right? So if you go back into our YouTube page and go to episode 2 of Let's Talk Reef, I'll show you how to use the AFS, how to integrate the skimmer and everything else, turning off all at one time so it operates the way you'd want to in a feed cycle.
And you can integrate those Ecotech pumps into those feed cycles as well. So there are ways to do that as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for your call, Rashid. We're going to go to the next one, man.
Thank you, Rashid. Bye.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Let's go to Quentin. Let's bring Quentin into the call. Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that. All right, let's see if I can find him. Thanks for your patience here.
Hope you guys are liking this in the show. It's something new, and bear with us. But, if you guys like it, let us know, and we'll do it. If you guys hate it, let us know, and I'll do something else next time. But I think it's a little fun.
Looks like Quentin got a little impatient.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll go to the next one. That's why we have multiple people. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
go to John Graywood. Let's talk to John Graywood.
Got him. Let me bring him in one moment.
I wanted to talk about, his movies, Quentin's.
Yeah.
Love The Hateful Eight. Such a good movie.
All right. Looks like we got Quentin on the line. Quentin, you there?
This isn't Quentin. This is John.
Sorry, John.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I switched it up on Paul. I mixed him up.
confused.
Hey, John, how's it going, man?
Hey, Terence. Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Good. Where are you calling from?
Newberry Park, California.
Oh, wow. I know that area very well. I grew up in the valley and used to go out there all the time. And it's funny because you still call it Newberry Park because my brother-in-law lives out there and he calls it T.O. Yeah, we all know about that. But anyway, so what's your question, John?
My question is I'm fairly new to the Apex system. I've been reefing since '93. I've had various different sized tanks, but my question to you guys is this: I have an Apex, I have an ATK, I have the WXM, and I have an AFS, and I just purchased the LDK and the dosing system combo, and I think I'm out of Aquabus ports on the Apex. What do I do?
This is the beautiful thing of the way it was designed originally by our founder and president, which is there really is no way to run out of them completely. You might get inconvenienced a little bit trying to find a way to get one, but basically every single device has two of them on it. Isn't that right, Paul? At least two, I mean.
Yeah, so you're never going to run out of Aquabus ports. The only way you could possibly run out of Aquabus ports if you have a lot of display screens and you need literally display screen on every corner, right? In that situation, because the display screen does not have an Aquabus port on it, it only has a cable,
That's
right?
true.
You would run out of Aquabus ports. But the great thing about this is that the Aquabus works on what you call a star configuration. Okay, which means that it does not actually matter where it's plugged in, right? The fact that you may plug in the LDK and then decide, you know what, that's not the best place for my LDK, and you want to put it someplace else, right? And you move it, 6 feet this way, and you had it plugged into the EB832 before. Now you have it plugged into the dose. That's fine, right? That LDK is still going to be absolutely recognized in the exact same way. So long as everything is connected to each other, they're all connected to the Apex. It works as kind of a mesh or a web.
And just
right?
be careful not to loop something back. If you do run out of ports, it may also, you might have just plugged one into like itself, right? Some like
yeah.
I mean, that can happen.
So that's certainly possible. And go ahead.
I'm going to be purchasing some of the pumps as well, and then I'm also going to get the Trident eventually.
Awesome.
So,
great. Well,
John,
I just got to say we really appreciate your purchases, and one thing to consider too is you got one link ports on. It sounds like you had two EB832s. So that means you have 6 1-link ports. Okay.
Right.
If you don't want to use the power supplies for that dose, and if you don't want to use the free and use the Aquabus, you could get just a one male 1-link cable, connect the EB832 to the dose directly, and now you don't need that power supply either.
Yeah, you don't need an Aquabus or a power supply if you use the 1-link cable, and those are available at your local fish stores and online as well. And then you just pop both of those off and then put just the 1-link. That's why it's called a 1-link, because you only need one thing, and you're good to go, man. So thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate the call on this first call-in live Let's Talk Reef.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, John.
All right, let's. We got one more here. We can probably take. I think.
Yeah, I got.
The time we got.
Brian Hertz.
Yeah, let's take it. Let's take Brian's call. Brian Hertz. Yes.
Okay.
I should have had John Cougar on the hold music.
Right.
Never mind. That's such a deep cut of a reference. Brian Hertz.
Yeah. All right. So we got Brian. Are you here, Brian?
I am.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing well, good. Brian. Where are you calling from, Brian?
Seattle, Washington.
Oh, up in Washington. Awesome, man. Awesome. So what's your question for us here today on Let's Talk Reef?
So it's kind of an odd question. I guess it's a little bit of a deep cut. I have a Waterbox Nano 20, and I can check my iodine, and it tells me that my iodine is 0.06. But from everything that I understand from iodine, it can be bound up by phosphate. And so even though there's 0.06 on the test, that doesn't mean that it's available for my corals to consume. And so I just wonder, should I dose something like Lugol to my tank? And I know that's a slippery slope, so I just thought I'd get some opinion.
Yeah, I know there's going to be, I'm going to let Paul talk about some old school stuff too, but I mean, my general philosophy on these things, if it's a Waterbox 20, is that 20 gallons, Paul, or is that 20 liters?
Yeah,
it's 20.
20 gallons. So, in a 20-gallon tank, you have very little water. You have very little room for error, and that's the downside. The upside is that it's easy to do water changes relatively, okay? So, when it comes to things like iodine and things that are very hard to test, or you can only test, for instance, with, I think, really kind of with any kind of certainty using ICP, and even then iodine is iffy to be tested. It means that I don't really do anything with it. I don't really dose anything with it. Now, I know historically there's anecdotal information that certain soft corals are, big iodine sinks, right, that pull down iodine. I have never.
Yeah, I have a lot of zoanthids, and that's what I hear, that they love iodine.
Yeah, and that can be the case. But in a 20-gallon tank, what I would suggest to you is, do frequent water changes, and you're going to get all the trace elements for the most part that those corals need. I haven't seen a tank, for instance, Paul, and Paul's going to talk about this in a second. Paul's tank grows zoanthids like crazy. It's a very low nutrient tank. Still grows zoanthids like crazy, but Paul is fastidious with his water changes, and I think that's a much safer way to go. That's my personal opinion. Now, early on, I got the same advice in my tanks of a couple of my buddies like, oh yeah, drip in 4 drops of iodine from Lugols every day and whatnot. And I did, and I don't know if it worked or it didn't work, but I'm of the feeling these days more of I don't put things in my tank that I don't really understand what they're going to do or what their levels are. What's your thoughts, Paul?
Terrence, I share a lot of your same sentiments on that. My opinion on trace elements in general, right, is if especially in small water volumes. Right. The best way to handle that is an automatic water change, which is something the Neptune system's dose can handle quite easily. Right. Even if you on that 20-gallon tank, set up a 5 or a 7-gallon reservoir, which is just one of those blue aquatainers from Walmart. Right. You do 7 gallons a week on that. Right. And so it's constantly running. You can set it up to happen just during the day or just at night. Everything you need is going to be taken care of. And you were concerned about phosphates a little bit there. You're not going to have much of a phosphate problem much longer either, right? And it's going to be a lot less head scratching of should I do this, should I do that, if you're just constantly infusing new water in there. Now, you do need to take that with a certain caveat. If you do too much of a water change, that's going to be a problem. But that's one of the great things about a continuous water change, right? You do very small amounts all the time. Right. And as a result in there, you get the levels back up to, what it is with the newly mixed salt water. Okay. And, if there's one thing that I know is even in my tank where I do water changes about every week to every 2 weeks. Right. And I do big water changes too. The part of the way that I do that is I make sure everything is the same. Right. The salinity is within 0.2 ppt of each other. The temperature is dead on. I exit the water. I put the water in. The whole thing maybe takes me 15 minutes.
Yep.
And I don't spend a lot of time, with the corals exposed to air and all that. But with the continuous water change, if you decide to go that angle, you just got to mix up the water at the same point. Make sure that it's also because it's going in such small amounts, you need to worry about temperature and things like that. That's just my opinion. And on the iodine thing, every ICP test I get shows I have low iodine. Everyone.
And I've had them where they shows that they're through the roof, like crazy levels, like everything would be dead in the tank. So it's definitely one of those things. It's not really something you can watch like that, in my opinion, and make smart moves on. So.
And I've never, in terms of the colors of my zoanthids, I put zoanthids just on the bottom of my tank. My soft corals just go on the rubble. I constantly, Robert loves when I show up and have 300 frags of zoanthids for him, right? Because I took out the whole entire mat, and my iodine levels constantly show essentially zero. It's not one of those ones that I'm overly concerned about, and it doesn't seem to have much.
The last bit of info I can give him, the last bit of really good info I can give you is if you are really a zoanthids person, I'm going to give a plug to Brandon from zoanthids.com. Okay, this guy is the uber knowledge guy on zoanthids and keeping zoanthids. If you go to an event, see him at the event, call or email zoanthids.com. They're really great people. They're in Utah, Linden, Utah. And if there's anybody that knows every little thing about having great zoanthids, it's Brandon. So there you go. Hope that helps answer your question,
Brian.
Brian.
We'll know it's him because he's got the same hat Terrence has got on right now.
Yes,
he's
it's
always
true.
got on that hat. Love it.
He loves our hat.
Well, that I appreciate it, and that's really fantastic. Your ATK changed my life, where I just have to have a reservoir and it auto tops off my tank. So if I could put a dose on there and have it do my water changes for me, that'd be awesome too.
Awesome.
You won't be disappointed, Brian.
You have a great evening there, Brian. Take care, man.
All right.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, Paul. So
all right,
that was really good, man.
Yeah,
that went off.
What do you think about all that?
Wow, it went off way better than I thought. We're getting great feedback from the people on the chat that's coming through here.
Good.
People are saying that they like the format. Feels like a radio show. So that makes me feel good about that. So I think I think it's not going to be something we're going to do every time. We'll probably bring it back once every 2 or 3 shows, maybe. It just depends on how hard it is to set up, and I think that it'll be easier too when we're back in the office than the way we are right now. And
and I did learn some things just in the first 10 minutes of kind of doing it, of what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. We tried to replicate this with our sales team and all that. Like, hey guys, everyone call in, right? But there's nothing really replaces doing it in the real time.
Yeah,
right?
we have a couple other things too. I have a little bit
well.
of a delay that's happening because of the board and the audio coming through the Bluetooth for you. So I may split the audio next time for the callers still only coming in on Bluetooth and you're coming in through the Skype as soon as I can figure out how to do that without an echo or what have you, because there's a lot of things going on. But definitely appreciate the feedback. Even Alan says this format does not suck. So Alan Bazinet.
Oh, thank you, Alan.
So good stuff.
Just in general too, I don't know how much you talked about in the general, just kind of giving an update. I think people right now want to know what's going on, when it's going on, and stuff like that. Our support team is running on all cylinders. We have been working very hard for you guys. You guys are, I think that there's a lot more free time available for people, and we're very happy to assist you. But you just gotta, reach out to us. You can give us a call at the number that you had today, or send us an email, and we're very happy to help you. Terrence, did you touch on reagents and how that's going? And
I did briefly talk about the fact that we still have a little bit out in the channel that are still out there for people that the stores are putting out there little by little, and in some local fish stores, and we have a small amount left in the office that we'll probably be kicking out to a few stores again in the coming week, and then we're gonna see what we can do ongoing. We don't know where this is gonna lead right now. We don't have a whole lot of direction from the county, and we all got to stay safe.
I think in general, it's a wait and see, right? We're doing our best. Please go check out the past couple Let's Talk Reef episodes in terms of what you need to do if you do run out of reagents. Please be understanding. This is where everyone's doing their best to take care of you and to make sure our customers have what they need. But this was a situation I don't think anyone could ever really anticipate.
Yep, we're doing the best we can, and like you said, support's doing everything they can to keep everything going, and the rest of the people who can work from home are doing it. And we're still doing live streams, and we still appreciate you. The next one of these is going to be on the 21st of April. So, because today's the 7th, right? Yes.
I just keep wondering when do we get to be back in the office? And
yeah,
do this, right?
I know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But and then we also have Control Freak Wednesday. I will have one of the Florida Tank Mafia or something, the Florida guys. I don't remember what the name of their little mini club is. I spoke to them over the weekend. We've got somebody for Control Freak Wednesday coming up a week from tomorrow. So that will be really cool. It's there's a bunch of really crazy guys down there in Miami that have some awesome aquariums, and Spoke to them all on Zoom over the weekend. So anyway, thanks for joining us, all of you guys. Let's Talk Reef. Go make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like our page. Put us up first. Let us know in the comments how you guys like this particular show and this format. Thank you for joining us. And until the 21st, it's Let's Talk Reef. Take care. Enjoy all this fish, man.